Me too. The first of the day, the Witch of Izalith, and her daughters of Chaos, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. Aldrich, Saint of the Deep, Farron's Undead Legion, the Abyss Watchers, and the reclusive Lord of the Profaned Capital. Yon the Giant.
I'll be seeing you then. Be careful out there. Well, a newcomer, I see.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall.
Oh, don't disappear like that. You had me downright worried. But thanks to you, an epiphany has struck me square in the head.
Years and years can go by, but you know, guys and gals, no matter how much accepted or how much respected and loved, Dark Souls 2 gets, it's not going to, be viewed as anything but the black sheep in the Soulsborne series or the Soul series. And you know what, guys and gals? I don't care, because honestly, Dark Souls 2 does a lot of things differently and yet much better than Dark Souls 1 and 3. And among those things, guys and gals, are the ones yours truly will be sharing in this 5 things Dark Souls 2 did different and better than Dark Souls 1 and 3. Dark Souls 2, guys and gals, will always be amongst my all-time favorite and one of those games where I can revisit it and always find something different to appreciate, including just recently, guys and gals, when I got to playing Dark Souls 2 with a buddy of mine, a buddy and sister who I jolly co-op with. Some things I've, discovered in this game, whether it be the NPCs or just small details in the game, makes me appreciate the game even more so than I did prior, and that's something I really love. But yes, guys and gals, let's get straight to it, shall we? At number 5, we have the opening of Dark Souls 2 and how it sets up the story and theme of the journey of the bearer of the curse and why he has come to this land, the land or kingdom of Drang Lake. And this journey, guys and gals, is one which will obviously test his will, endurance, and desire to survive and to break the curse within him, the undead curse. And this is something, guys and gals, that's actually answered in this game. The undead curse itself and how one may cure it in some way. In this way, guys and gals, is one for you to find out. But unlike Dark Souls 1 and 2, though this undead curse can't be completely broken, it can be subdued, permanently subdued, using this specific item. This item, guys and gals, it plays a key role in the story of the bearer of the curse and his journey coming to an end. This whole story, guys and gals, was about the bearer of the curse and not so much the bosses in this game. This game, guys and gals, it puts more emphasis on the character, the protagonist. It's one of those common things about, Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, even to some extent like Elden Ring, which I really don't like. But in the case with, Elden Ring, I can excuse it because, it's a different game. It's a totally different and separate game from the Souls series. But still, guys and gals, why can't they put more focus on the protagonist? The protagonist who, yes, I know is customizable, but still, guys and gals, the protagonist is our avatar into the story of the game and us experiencing his story through his point of view. This one character, this one man who wants to break this curse in him, and that's something which is also found in Bloodborne, another game I really, really love, because again, it puts more emphasis on the protagonist and not so much like, the other bosses. That's one point I really love so much, and just the fact that the protagonist himself soon realizes the undead curse isn't easily broken, and this whole game, guys and gals, is is centered on the themes and ideas, which comes back to the protagonist and never deviates from him. Dark Souls 1 doesn't really put more emphasis on the protagonist. Yes, guys and gals, I know Dark Souls 1 keeps on, talking about how the chosen undead has to do this, the chosen undead has to do that, and blah blah blah, prophecy and all that shit, guys and gals. I get it. Same with Dark Souls 3 and the Ashen one, and how the story, it revolves around Ash and convoluted time, all of that stuff. But guys and gals, those two stories and the themes within said stories come nowhere near as great or well structured as the one in this game. It's so well structured and so fascinating, which leads me to my fourth point. The themes and ideas. Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 explore the theme of hollowing and what it means to go hollow, but this game, guys and gals, the focus is on the fear of going hollow and what one becomes when they do indeed go hollow. Hollowing, guys and gals, is something they really fear because it's the equivalent of lobotomy and what you become after death, after multiple death, and when you lose your purpose, when you lose that flame, you become a husk of a person, and that is something which is much more explored in this game, Dark Souls 2, and it largely revolves around Lucatiel of Mira. Lucatiel represents Dark Souls 2's themes the best: names, identities, individuality, and when one loses their memories, their individuality, and their sense of self, they become something inhuman, a hollow whose flame has been extinguished. Those themes, guys and gals, feel a lot more intimate and more impactful in this game, especially by the end of Lucatiel of Mira's quest and her decision into how she wants her tale to end. Dark Souls 2's themes are so great, and they really hit a lot harder than Dark Souls 1 and 3's.
Don't hold it against me, eh? Take your time starving to death. Then I'll sell every last trinket off your corpse.
This is what I do, my friend.
Every age, it seems, is tainted by the greed of men. Rubbish to one such as I, devoid of all worldly wants.
Then stay away from the Volcano Manor.
At number 3, guys and gals, we have fucking patches. Oh my god, guys and gals. Patches is everything wrong with these games, Dark Souls 1 and 3, which I really hate so fucking much. Guys and gals, please, what is the fucking purpose of patches? Please, what is his purpose? I mean, I've heard theory about him, about how, like, he is supposedly the furtive pygmy, and how, like, the furtive pygmy is so easily forgotten and whatever. But guys and gals, how is that fucking patches? What is with, Miyazaki Hidetaka and his fucking thing for patches? He has this weird thing for patches and just like, big boobs and all that shit. I can't stand that crap, guys and gals. I don't want a fucking mascot, which is what patches is. He's a fucking mascot who's inserted in every one of their games, including, lo and behold, Bloodborne. I mean, guys and gals, can we stop with the fucking patches? What is Patches doing in fucking Elden Ring, please? What the fuck is he doing in Elden Ring? What is his purpose? I've completed his quest in Elden Ring, guys and gals, but again, what the fuck is he doing in Elden Ring? I'm sorry, guys and gals, Patches just drives me mad, and I'm the bald fuck who's complaining about him. I'm complaining about a fucking bald fuck in the Elden Ring and the Soulsborne series because he fucking drives me nuts. Fuck Patches, fuck him. But guys and gals, please, try to convince me otherwise. What does he serve in the story? What does he serve in the other games? And thankfully, he's not in Dark Souls 2, which, yes, yes, it's a much better game without him. I mean, we have Pate and Crichton. Pate is a gentleman, a deceptive gentleman who just so happens to be the target of the sick serial killer named Crichton, and Crichton wants his head, and Pate wants to avoid Crichton at all costs. You can see where their tale, guys and gals, is going and how their tale is going to end. But again, it does come back to the protagonist of the game, and said protagonist playing a part in how their tale ends. Fuck patches to fucking hell. But yes, guys and gals, on to point 2. What the hell is with the, certain scenarios or certain events which occur in, for example, Bloodborne. You had the scene where you entered the boss room and you find a guy who's pleading you for help. It plays out in a similar fashion to how certain other scenes in Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1 plays out. You have instances where a character's like, help me from so-and-so, and it's something you also see in Elden Ring. Some characters, speak of a spider, a certain spider in Elden Ring, who of course turned out to be Godric. But guys and gals, I mean, I get that it's done in a way to set up the antagonist of that part in the game, that segment in the game. I get that, but the thing is, in the majority of From Software's games, it's a recurring pattern which happens so often, and that's something which is not present in this game. It's one of many things which is not present in this game and done much better. And the example I shared, guys and gals, it's one of many examples I can bring up, including again, the opening to these games, specifically Dark Souls 1 and 3, which is so identical to one another. Bosses introduced, player character ignored, and the world is set up, all that shit, but they lose focus over the protagonist, which does go back to the point I mentioned, the previous point I mentioned before. Dark Souls 2, guys and gals, does have flaws, but this game, guys and gals, is nowhere near as blatant, and some things done so similarly in other games, in the From Software games, the way things are played out and the way the story is structured, and it doesn't follow a similar trope to the previous games, Dark Souls 1 and the game that followed after, Dark Souls 3. But yes, guys and gals, I can't stand those similar aspects to these games. I don't want to be reminded of similar things which happened in the previous game or the game that followed after. I want things to play out differently. I want the story to be a sequel, but not a sequel which is directly a sequel to said game. I just can't stand things done in a similar fashion, in such a blatant way too, as seen in Dark Souls 3 and the other games that followed. And finally, guys and gals, at number 1 we have Dark Souls 2 being a definitive sequel to Dark Souls, in the fact that it's not a direct sequel, but rather it's its own game, it's its own identity. This story is very much set in the same universe and does make references to Dark Souls 1, references of which aren't blatant in any fucking way. Dark Souls 2 being its own thing, being its own story, and telling its own story in a very good and natural way. Despite its flaws, this game, guys and gals, stands alone as a great game and a great Souls game which tells a different story, a different and much better story, which does not in any way ride the coattail of Dark Souls 1 in the same way Dark Souls 3 did. No matter how fascinating, no matter how well told the story, it does fucking ride the coattail of Dark Souls 1, and no one can tell me otherwise. Dark Souls 3 keeps going back to Dark Souls 1. Gwyn, Priscilla, Guinevere, so many characters, guys and gals, which are in your face and they're telling you, you see, Dark Souls 3 is a sequel to Dark Souls 1. Are you happy? Are you really happy? I've played with folks who kept on saying the same garbage, and it never ends, guys and gals. What is a proper sequel? Please elaborate. What is a proper sequel? Do you want a game to be a direct sequel all the time? Dark Souls 2, guys and gals, is a sequel. It is canon, as confirmed by Miyazaki Hidetaka. No one can change that. No one can take away from that. And Dark Souls 2 is not only canon, but Dark Souls 2 is very much, guys and gals, in the same universe as the Souls series. And this game, guys and gals, the story is unique. The themes and ideas and the plot itself are very well told. Some, guys and gals, can argue that Dark Souls 1 tells the better story, the overall better story, and I can see why. But with Dark Souls 3, no, guys and gals, no. That game, guys and gals, it panders to fans of Dark Souls 1 and the whole fucking fan services littered in this game with all the Easter eggs to Dark Souls 1. It's so wink wink, it's so fucking fucking annoying. I can't stand that shit. In Dark Souls 2, guys and gals, when you spot those small fan service moments, they are done in a natural way, in a way which had yours truly going, I like that. I like that a lot. And that's why I love this game so much, among so many reasons as to why Dark Souls 2, aka Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, is one of my all-time favorite games, and definitely my favorite Soul game. It's the black sheep for damn sure, but black sheeps are quite attractive, and this game, guys and gals, is definitely attractive to yours truly, and no one can take that away from Dark Souls 2. So yes, guys and gals, I said my piece. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe if you wish, and do check out my other channel where I talk about movies, television programs, anime series, etc. Until next time, peace out, take care, adios amigos, au revoir, and sayonara.